The photo showed Evelyn Carter's entire family raising champagne flutes on a yacht in the Bahamas while she sat in her Chicago kitchen, staring at her phone screen. The laughter frozen in that picture sliced through her like glass. Evelyn set the phone down slowly, her hands trembling but her mind sharpening with a clarity she hadn't felt in years. 9 hours later, her daughter-in-law, Lauren, was screaming so loudly the neighbors called the police. But that night, in that small Chicago kitchen, Evelyn had already chosen her path. If you're hearing this story, she would tell the world, know this. Sometimes the sweetest revenge comes from people you underestimate. It began on December 28th. Lauren cornered Evelyn in her own kitchen, her voice dripping with practiced sweetness. "I'm so sorry, but there's just not enough space on the yacht," she said, tucking a strand of glossy hair behind her ear. "It's really more for younger people, you know? Dancing late-night parties. You'd be miserable." Evelyn had nodded as she always did, keeping her tone soft. "Of course, dear. I understand." The words stung like acid, but she swallowed them as she always had. Lauren beamed, relief clear on her face. "I knew you would. You're always so flexible. Michael and I really appreciate how reasonable you are." Flexible. That was the word Lauren liked to use when Evelyn was excluded from birthdays, ignored at holidays, or scheduled out of Sunday dinners with her book club. Flexible meant grateful for scraps. Evelyn had been flexible for far too long, but that photograph, that cruel, glittering snapshot of exclusion, snapped something inside her. She stared at the faces on her screen. Michael, her only son, arms wrapped around Lily and Aaron, her grandchildren, their smiles wide and free. Lauren's mother, Claudia, sipping champagne. Rachel, Lauren's sister, surrounded by her 3 children Evelyn barely knew. Even Lauren's cousin, Mark, and his girlfriend were there. 37 people. Evelyn counted twice, then a third time. 37 seats, 37 toasts, 37 people who fit just fine. But not her. Not the woman who had raised Michael alone after David walked out. She thought of the years she had babysat Lily and Aaron every weekend when money was tight. The countless nights she swallowed Lauren's passive-aggressive comments about her cooking, her clothes, her very existence. Evelyn traced every smile in that picture, memorizing the joy she had been deemed unworthy to share. Behind them, the Bahamian sunset burned gold like a cruel postcard from the life she wasn't allowed to touch. She set the phone down gently and walked into her study, the one Lauren had never dared to enter. Lauren thought it was just storage for Evelyn's late husband's papers. If only she knew. Evelyn opened her laptop, her hands steady, her mind humming. By dawn, she owned 49% of Carter & Sloan Marketing, the agency where Lauren was a senior partner. By noon, she had scheduled a comprehensive audit for January 2nd. That night, she slept better than she had in years, her dreams filled with strategy, not loneliness. The next morning, Evelyn rose at 5 a.m., feeling alive in a way she hadn't since David's funeral 3 years earlier. She brewed coffee in her bright yellow mug, the one Lauren always said was too cheerful for company, and settled into David's old leather chair. Her phone buzzed. A text from Michael. "Having amazing time. Kids love snorkeling. Wish you could see Aaron's face underwater. Like a little fish. Wish you could see, not wish you were here." That distinction was clear. No one missed her. No one apologized for leaving her behind on New Year's Eve with nothing but a frozen dinner and a rerun on TV. Evelyn took another sip of coffee and opened her laptop. Robert had left her comfortable, but what no one knew, not even Michael, was how well she had built on that foundation. For decades, Evelyn quietly invested, growing her portfolio while Lauren dismissed her as a lonely widow. She wasn't just comfortable. She was powerful. Carter and Sloan had been struggling. Evelyn had overheard enough to know they were losing clients, falling behind on payments, and drowning in bills from Lauren's lifestyle. The leased Mercedes, the oversized house in Lincoln Park, Aaron's private school, Lily's dance academy. They were desperate. Which meant they couldn't refuse when Meridian Holdings, Evelyn's carefully disguised investment company, swooped in to buy nearly half their firm. Lauren never suspected a thing. To Lauren, Evelyn was just the grandmother who made too much food and asked too many questions. But now Evelyn was her silent partner, with access to every financial record. And she knew what she was looking for. She spent 6 hours combing through the books and uncovered Lauren's first scheme, billing clients for premium services while delivering the bare minimum and pocketing the difference. Clever, yes, but not clever enough to hide from someone who had spent a lifetime reading numbers like poetry. By New Year's Eve, while her family danced under foreign stars, Evelyn had uncovered 3 more schemes. Lauren had been double billing for marketing materials, charging non-profits inflated rates, and filing personal spa weekends under client entertainment. Evelyn's favorite, however, was the string of business lunches with Adrian, her personal trainer. His name appeared in dozens of receipts, always attached to luxury restaurants. Adrian Thompson, 28, sculpted and featured on the covers of fitness magazines. Evelyn dug deeper, her suspicions confirmed by social media. Adrian's Instagram was practically a diary of his affair with Lauren. Dinners, hotel stays, weekend trips, all documented with hashtags about work-life balance. Every post lined up with times Michael believed his wife was traveling for conferences or late-night strategy meetings. Evelyn saved each screenshot into a neatly labeled folder. Her late husband David had taught her, documentation is everything. Her phone buzzed with another family group text. This time it was Lauren herself. Sunset cruise tonight. Kids are having a blast. Thanks for being so understanding, Evelyn. You're such a sweetheart. Evelyn smiled at the word, understanding. She had become very good at understanding, at grasping exactly how Lauren stole from clients, from her husband, from the very life Evelyn had helped build. And she understood something else too. The reckoning was coming. January 1st arrived, bitter and gray in Chicago. Evelyn spent the day differently than usual. Instead of sitting quietly with memories, she made herself new ones. She booked a salon appointment for the first time in 3 years. Her stylist, Susan, gasped when she walked in. Evelyn Carter, you've been hiding from the world. What happened to you? Evelyn met her eyes in the mirror. Nothing happened to me, she said softly. I just remembered who I am. 3 hours later, Evelyn emerged with silver hair styled to perfection. She looked in the mirror and saw not the forgotten grandmother Lauren dismissed, but the businesswoman who had once co-built a firm with her late husband, raised a child alone, and survived every storm life had thrown at her. She shopped next, choosing suits that shouted confidence, not invisibility. The young clerk smiled knowingly. You want boardroom power, don't you? Evelyn nodded. Exactly. That evening, as she unpacked her shopping bags, her phone rang. Michael's voice was casual but distracted. Hey Mom. We're boarding now. Should be home around 9. Jessica's tired, so maybe we'll catch up Thursday. Evelyn let silence hang for a moment. Actually, I have meetings Thursday. Important ones. But we'll see. She could almost hear his confusion. His mother never had meetings. His mother never had anything to prioritize over his family. Till now. Thursday morning came. Chicago's winter sky was steel gray, but Evelyn felt as though spring lived inside her chest. She slipped into her new charcoal suit, poured coffee into her yellow mug, and waited. At 8:47 a.m., the first call arrived. Mrs. Carter. This is David Chen from Morrison & Associates. We've uncovered serious irregularities during our audit of Carter and Sloan. Could you come in today? Evelyn's lips curved. Of course. 2 o'clock suits me perfectly. At 10:23 a.m., Michael called. His voice frantic. Mom, something's wrong at Lauren's office. Auditors are everywhere. They're saying invoices are fake, clients don't exist. Lauren's panicking. Evelyn sipped her coffee, admiring her reflection in the hall mirror. That sounds dreadful. I hope it's just a misunderstanding. Michael sighed. She swears it is. Says someone's sabotaging her. Evelyn murmured. I'm sure she'll handle it professionally. He never noticed the quiet satisfaction in her tone. By afternoon, Evelyn walked into Carter and Sloane's glittering downtown offices for the first time. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Grant Park, but the beauty couldn't hide desperation. Expensive furniture, costly artwork, empty confidence. David Chen rose to greet her. Behind him, Lauren sat pale and shaken, her vacation tan now useless against the flush of fear. Michael was beside her, his hand gripping hers, his expression a mixture of confusion and loyalty. "Mrs. Carter," David Chen said respectfully, "thank you for coming on such short notice." Lauren's eyes filled with tears. "Evelyn, what are you doing here? Did Michael call you to support us?" Evelyn placed her new leather briefcase on the table and smiled warmly. "Actually, Lauren, I'm here as your business partner." The silence that followed was almost holy. Michael's jaw dropped. Lauren's mouth opened soundlessly. For the first time in years, Evelyn felt seen. "Business partner." Lauren's voice cracked, disbelief dripping from every syllable. "What are you talking about?" Evelyn calmly folded her hands on the table, her new manicure glinting under the overhead light. "I am the investor behind Meridian Holdings. In December, I purchased 49% of Carter and Sloane Marketing. Which means," she paused deliberately, "that your problems are my problems now." Michael blinked as though he'd been struck. "Mom, you bought half the company. Without telling me." Evelyn met his eyes gently. "I didn't think you'd be interested." David Chen cleared his throat, breaking the silence. "Mrs. Carter, we've discovered extensive irregularities. Inflated invoices, phantom clients, misuse of company funds. We'll need to determine accountability." Lauren shook her head rapidly, her panic leaking through. "This is absurd. Evelyn doesn't even understand how modern business works. Someone's manipulating her." Evelyn smiled. "Oh, Lauren, you underestimate me. I built financial systems with David for 20 years. I know numbers better than most people know their own children. And your numbers, Lauren, tell a story you won't like." Lauren slammed her hand on the table. "You can't come in here pretending you're some corporate genius. You're just—" She caught herself, but the damage was done. Evelyn leaned forward, her voice calm but cutting. "Just what, Lauren? Just a grandmother. Just an old woman. Just someone you could exclude because I wasn't young enough to sip champagne on your yacht." Michael whispered her name, "Lauren," trying to silence her, but Evelyn held her gaze firmly. Michael's face was pale as he turned toward Evelyn. "Mom, why didn't you say anything? You've been investing, hiding this from us." Evelyn softened, though her words were deliberate. "I didn't hide. I simply never shared. There's a difference. You and Lauren never asked what I did with my time or money. You assumed I needed your invitations to feel relevant. That was your mistake." David Chen slid a folder across the table. "The documents speak for themselves." Inside the folder were pages of evidence. Screenshots, bank records, invoices that didn't add up. Evelyn had highlighted each irregularity in yellow, her favorite pen color. Lauren flipped through them, her breathing shallow. These aren't real." Evelyn's voice was steady. "They're as real as Adrian's Instagram posts. Lovely dinners, hotel rooms, romantic captions. All funded by this company." Michael's head snapped toward Lauren, his confusion hardening into suspicion. "Adrian? Who's Adrian?" Lauren's lips parted, but no words came. Her silence was louder than any confession. Michael looked back at Evelyn, eyes wide, pleading silently for confirmation. Evelyn didn't flinch. "Your wife has been using company funds to finance her affair with a 28-year-old trainer. The paper trail is undeniable." Lauren shot up from her chair. "This is insane. She's twisting everything. Michael, you know me." Her voice broke into shrill desperation, but Michael's grip on her wrist loosened. David Chen remained professional. "Our firm will proceed with a full report. Mrs. Carter, as majority investor, your decision will carry significant weight in next steps." Evelyn inclined her head. "Thank you, Mr. Chen." I expect nothing less than complete transparency. If necessary, we'll involve legal authorities." The word authorities seemed to echo in the room. Lauren's eyes darted between her husband, her business partner, and the auditor. She was trapped, a queen cornered on the chessboard. Michael rubbed his forehead, his voice low and unsteady. "Lauren, tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't betray me. Tell me you didn't risk everything we built." Lauren tried to reach for him, tears brimming. "Michael, baby, you know I love you. This is just a misunderstanding. Evelyn is manipulating you. She's always wanted to control us." Evelyn chuckled softly, the sound startling in its confidence. "Control you? No, Lauren. I wanted nothing but a seat at the table. You denied me that, so I built my own." The meeting ended in silence, tension so heavy it clung to every breath. Evelyn rose, her suit jacket perfectly aligned, and gathered her briefcase. "I'll leave you to absorb the reality," she said smoothly. "Mr. Chen will send me updates." She glanced once more at Michael, her tone softening. "Son, I love you. But love doesn't mean blindness." Without waiting for a response, she walked out, her heels striking the marble floor like a drumbeat of victory. In the elevator, Evelyn exhaled deeply. 4 years she had swallowed humiliation, eaten scraps of affection, and played the role of the flexible, invisible widow. But not anymore. She was no longer Evelyn the outsider. She was Evelyn Carter, businesswoman, strategist, silent partner turned executioner. Outside, Chicago's icy wind whipped against her face, but she felt nothing but warmth. The game had only just begun, and for once she held all the pieces. That evening, Evelyn poured herself a glass of red wine, something she rarely did alone. She sat by the fireplace, her documents spread across the coffee table. The evidence wasn't just enough to ruin Lauren professionally, it was enough to send her to court. Evelyn tapped her pen against the pages thoughtfully. She didn't want to destroy Michael's life. He was her son. But she would not shield Lauren. Not this time. Her phone buzzed. It was Michael. She let it ring twice before answering. "Mom," his voice was hoarse. "Tell me again what you found. Please." Evelyn's tone was gentle, but unwavering. "Bank transfers, false invoices, stolen funds. And Adrian." Silence stretched before Michael finally whispered. "She swore it wasn't true. She begged me to believe her." Evelyn closed her eyes briefly. "And do you?" Michael's breath trembled. "I don't know anymore." Evelyn's heart ached for her son, but she reminded herself. Sometimes pain was the first step to clarity. The next day, Lauren appeared at Evelyn's doorstep, her face pale and blotchy from crying. "We need to talk," she demanded, her voice shaking. Evelyn opened the door just wide enough to stand in the frame. "About what, Lauren? The fraud, the lies, or the affair?" Lauren's eyes flashed. "You think you've won, don't you? But you've destroyed your own family." Evelyn tilted her head. "No, Lauren. You destroyed this family the moment you chose betrayal over honesty." Lauren's composure cracked. "I worked so hard. I built that agency from the ground up while you sat in this house knitting sweaters." Evelyn smiled faintly. "And yet, here we are. You begging and me holding the keys to everything you care about. Perhaps you should have remembered that underestimating people has consequences." Lauren's fists clenched. "You'll regret this." Evelyn's voice was calm as still water. "The only regret I have is not acting sooner." She shut the door quietly, leaving Lauren trembling on the porch. Inside, Evelyn leaned against the door, listening to Lauren's muffled sobs fade into the winter air. She didn't feel joy. She felt steady, centered. Justice wasn't about satisfaction, it was about balance. She returned to her study and drafted an email to David Chen. "Proceed with full legal review. Do not hold back. Protect the firm, the clients, and our reputation." She clicked send, sealing Lauren's fate with a calm finality. That weekend Michael visited alone. He looked older, wearier, as though 10 years had pressed down on him in 3 days. He sat across from his mother at the kitchen table, his hands folded tightly. "She admitted some of it," he said at last. "Not Adrian. Not all the fraud. But enough." Evelyn reached across and touched his hand. "I'm sorry, Michael. I know this hurts." Tears filled his eyes, but he didn't pull away. "You saved me, Mom. You saved the kids." Evelyn squeezed his hand. "I didn't want to hurt you. But protecting you sometimes means showing you what you don't want to see." Michael nodded slowly, the weight of reality sinking in. "The kids asked about you," he added softly. "They want to come over next weekend. Lily said she misses your pancakes." Evelyn's heart swelled. For the first time in years, she felt like a grandmother again, not the flexible afterthought but the anchor her family needed. News traveled quickly. Within weeks, Carter and Sloane's reputation began to crumble under the revelations. Clients pulled out, investigations launched, and Lauren's name became synonymous with scandal. Evelyn's phone buzzed constantly with reporters and business associates, but she kept her responses measured. "We're restructuring," she would say. "Our priority is integrity." Quietly, she worked with David Chen to rebuild the firm under her watchful eye. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had become the leader Lauren never believed she could be. On a cold February morning, Evelyn stood in front of the mirror wearing one of her new suits. The woman staring back wasn't invisible anymore. She was sharp, composed, alive. She thought of David, her late husband, and whispered, "You'd be proud." In her mind, she heard his steady voice. "Documentation is everything. Never let them see you weak." She smiled. Weakness had been Lauren's mistake. Strength had always been Evelyn's hidden weapon. As spring approached, Evelyn hosted a family dinner in her own home. Michael and the children filled the table with laughter and noise. For the first time in years, she felt the warmth of belonging, not because Lauren allowed it, but because Evelyn had claimed it. She raised her glass, looking at her grandchildren's bright faces. "To new beginnings," she said softly. The clink of glasses rang like music. Evelyn Carter was no longer the forgotten widow. She was the matriarch, the strategist, and the woman who had reminded everyone, most of all herself, never to underestimate her again.